Bonjour and good morning. Last word books moved. That's the place I tease. I say the last word is help. Help me. Because I saw that the owner also had a job at Evergreen picking scholarship people, and he said he liked the attractive ones and it was cool they had to have their picture. Why am I showing you this? By the way, we've got MK Ultra coming up. I promise. There's stuff on Tinkerbell that has been a little bit hard to find, but I've got other research coming up. This is the old site. This is going to be a sordid tale, I promise. No, it's worse than that, and it's not funny. It's kind of like weird. And just how someone could sort of have that mind is what blows me away. This is the old site of Bread and Roses, part of their operation. It was this kind of very, it was run by the Catholics, but in a very loose way. I don't even remember anyone Catholic being there. So it must have been a very hands-off operation. To the right were where there were counselors, phones, showers, waiting room, thing like that. And on the left was where meals were served once a day. But the Catholics didn't even, in general, deal with the food. That was a sign-up sheet. I had a friend that would go, and I went with him a few times. He has a big farm out on Delphi, and he would go, he'd sign up on the sign-up sheet for once a month and come and make really great veggie pizzas and things like that. So it was kind of a super popular spot with the homeless or people just that were in distress, because it was the one place where I actually saw a person truly really get help. It was a guy who was an alcoholic nurse. He'd been in the Vietnam War as a nurse, and they actually helped him there, and he actually got a job up at Harborview. He was one of the few that stayed at my place. I think I told you there was a crazy time when, and I don't even have any bad experiences of anyone staying there, but I got, I have a baby now. Not a baby, now she's big, but as soon as that happened, I didn't do that anymore. But that was a really kind of popular hotspot where people were actually getting help. Like I said, they had the showers there. Different groups would sign up once a month to feed people, so it wasn't that kind of tired sort of slop feeling maybe you get at Sally's Salvation Army. Salvation Army got no hot. So, what is the sordid tale? Now, there's a second part to the Bread and Roses, and that it was a row of homes, and we can drive by that. It's right next to downtown, a row of homes where women and children could live. I'm sorry, guys, but they just, that was what they could do, and it was there forever. The Bread and Roses, houses for women and for children. There's a little lone bedroll there, all by itself, like that Joni Mitchell song, in Court and Spark, huh? And so suddenly, Bread and Roses, that had been around forever, really, since the dawn of time, suddenly stopped. The downtown one stopped first, and that one made like a little bit of sense. I don't know if there'd been businesses that were saying there's too many homeless that hang around out around there or something. I don't know. But then I just found out recently that the houses even stopped. and that was bizarre. That was totally bizarre that even the houses stopped. So I was just like, whoa, there's a guy in there. That's pretty fun. And so I was just like, what do you mean the houses stopped? Like, they were there forever, and they had a great reputation. They were just quiet. They were in a neighborhood. There were like 3 in a row, just really nice. And so, what's the deal with that? Okay, enter Hospice. Enter, I can't say their name. Like, I don't want to like dox myself. But enter powerful, ancient social justice warrior person. And this story is going to be cruel and unjust in a big way. There was a friend of ours who, it was really more of a friend of my ex's there. I was just trying to get that little piece of art. Okay. Yeah, so wow, it's kind of empty here, huh, today? Woo. So, a friend of my ex's was dying, and he was kind of an established, just regular person, okay? Just regular old electrician, and he had a disabled son who had schizophrenia, and that was his only child. And he'd lived in Olympia forever, and he was in hospice, and he was dying. Now, one of the things that's odd to me is that he did not know the person in question, because I thought everyone in town knew the person in question. And so to me, that was also a shock, because that said person, boasts about going about Olympia with a bullhorn, and just generally being obnoxious over the multitudes of decades here. And they got a humongous, giant directorship job they were utterly not qualified for, and they even did say in their interview, now that they're retired, how proud they were of being able to really pull all cards. That if they didn't get the job, they'd say, you're this, and this. Oh boy, don't you love more than anything a bird on a wire? Look at that. That is nice. Okay, so here we've got a friend who is dying, who doesn't know this person. Okay, now this person has done all kinds of wild stuff, and they're in the paper for a lot of stuff, and run non-profs. Millions of non-profs in Olympia. If you look up non-profs, it's usually that person's name is somewhere on it. Hello, birds. Hello, birds. So this person, former director of housing or whatever. And the joke in town was they were director of housing to make sure they had a house, right? But nobody else would. This person ended up, if you can believe it, volunteering as a hospice person. Volunteering as a hospice person here in Olympia. And they volunteered as a hospice person here in Olympia, and so that was really wild. So she's now this stranger kind of volunteer hospice person. This little Vulture has managed to become a hospice volunteer, and she talked. Now, this is where she really got 2 birds with 1 stone. She talked the man, our friend, who had no heirs per se, except his schizophrenic son, who was pretty much just taken care of by the state at that point. He was set up in a place. So the director had our buddy Scott sign away all of his money to her. How do you like that one? How do you like that? And we're not even like done yet, right? This is only just the part of it. So she figured out, this woman really figures out how to, she's kind of like way beyond anyone I know with boldness and with scamstering. So here she is, you know, she's got this reputation in town amongst those who the wool has been pulled over their eyes as this, you know, self-proclaimed savior, while taking money, while taking hard-earned money from dying people and having them sign it over to her. Okay, how is that not the half of it, right? How is that not the end-all be-all of it? Well, she approached Bread and Roses because she's also the queen of nonprofits and has her finger in everybody's pies. And so she contacted them and said, oh, I've got all of this extra money coming up, and I would love to be on the board of Bread and Roses, really breadcrumbing them with, you know, I'm going to get, you know, this will, and, you know, and that was also how she got Scott to sign over the money. Here we are. This is the basement of the abortion clinic. And it's really creepy because they always put up things that are just so wrong. Yep, see, we're right under, there's Planned Parenthood right up there. And here they have a baby, and it's kind of like really highly reflective, but anyway, they've got this, you know, Jesus and Mary thing. That's Olympia humor for you, though. That's what Olympia thinks is funny. Wow, there was someone sitting in that car. They have guards around, you know. And then now there's a special sign for you. Feminist. Like, what does it even mean anymore? What does any of it mean? It's like, we just want to slogan you out. We don't even have a slogan, we just have a word now. Oh, good. Thank God that crowd's not there. It's just peasant workers. Okay, so where am I going with this, right? So she gets Bread and Roses to go, okay, yeah, wow. You know, Anna's been on everything, you know. She was the director of blah, blah. Yeah, we'll put her on Bread and Roses. Oh, and she, you know, and then Scott's like, yes, I'll sign all my money over to you. There he is in hospice, you know, dying of cancer. And he says, I will sign everything to you if you will give it to Bread and Roses and, you know, make the legacy live on, right? That his money is doing good, that he's not just dying and leaving, you know, his money to nothing and nowhere. Well, as soon as she gets the money, and as soon as she gets on the board of this Bread and Roses place, by the way, I made some videos and then I just thought it was too hateful to put them up. Remember that beautiful spot with the big cheese and all the little buildings and where Mankin is always trying to go. He can't somehow fathom. It's weird that it's all level now, but it had, remember? Oh well, it's just... And they tore it down. It was stuff from the 1800s, a brick building, the first press in Olympia. I called the state and, the preservation woman, and she was talking about stupid stuff downtown that's just gross, and saying that was what was to be preserved, and it just made no sense except maybe in their own economic terms. But if you go too far with the economic, no one's going to want to live in the place anymore. If you just completely fill it with like block buildings, everyone's just going to move. Like, that was one of the coolest actually blocks in Olympia itself. Okay, so here we are where Anna, former director of housing of Olympia, now has all of Scott's money. She's got his great big electrician will. Now she's on the board of yet another place. And my friend who knows both of them and was part of that because he was with Scott as he was dying the whole time, he said, oddly, the second that Anna got on the board with all of that money, suddenly Bread and Roses shut down. Suddenly it shut down. The one homeless place that was actually working and not messed up and actually doing something. And so that shows the cleverness of Anna. And she's the one who has bragged about shutting down different businesses in the area. Now here is an encampment that was recently put down, as it were. And here are the little blocks. And this one was actually not real messy. It was pretty nice. I just hadn't been able to really get to it. It sort of had a lot of kind of cars, and it's right on a what do they call those things? A traffic circle, right as you get on the freeway. So it's in kind of an odd spot. It's in an odd spot. So yeah, isn't that wild? She not only got the money, but for some reason she wanted to shut down the one place that was making a positive difference in people's lives. Bread and Roses, like I said, it had the showers, and there was a kind of a punk guy that was up front that was on the phones. They had other phones so people could come in. They didn't have the clothing thing down. There was another group that really tried to start, and I'm sorry that they did go under. And it was a guy who started an actual real non-prop here, where he had a ton of clothes and he had stuff to make like food and everything, where people could come in and they could get dressed to get a job interview and get a little bit of lunch. And there was also a car there, so there was transportation. They could get people from here to there and everywhere, which was just it was a fabulous thing. So why do you think that Anna